Hello and welcome back to day 2 of KubeCon CloudNativeCon North America 2025 from now getting warm Atlanta, because it is definitely getting warm. We're definitely warmed up in here and we're really cruising through day 2, having a lot of fun, bringing some people who are new to theCUBE on here. I'm really excited to have Niels Bantilan, who's on. He was the Chief ML Engineer at Union.ai. And Chris Matteson, who's this Head of Sales Engineering for Union.ai as well.
Thank you. Thanks
for both coming on, and also joining me, hey, welcome to the show this week. I know you've been busy, a lot of briefings and stuff. Paul, welcome on board, glad to have you.
Awesome to be here, great to be here. It's been an exciting show. The show floor is buzzing, there's so much traffic, and Union is this, I'm really looking forward to this presentation today.
Yeah, so before we go too deep in, let's understand who is Union and what you got going on, because I think you're hitting at a really interesting place in the market, because people are looking for an easy button. And I think you guys are playing in that space, so why don't you go there?
Yeah, definitely. So just a brief history lesson. Union is the company that spun out of Lyft. So there was an ML platform team at Lyft. They had all the classical ML problems around training models, deploying them to production, making sure they're reliable. And these are not the large deep learning models of today. These are XGBoost models that might fit on a CPU, but there's still operational complexity there, right? So this company spun out of Lyft, but while they were at Lyft, they built this tool called Flyte. And it was internal at first, it gained a whole lot of traction inside the company, and the platform team decided to donate this project to the open source, to the Linux Foundation. And so Union now is, I believe, around 5 years old, and we've been productionizing ML and AI applications and projects for quite a bit now. And yeah, we're seeing a lot of interesting changes, let's say, of late.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a hot topic. We've been talking about it this week, and I was at Infrastructure as Code, or IAC Con Connect, on Monday night doing a panel, and when I got off the stage and was talking to a lot of the platform engineering folks, their big struggle or toil was, okay, how do I even know how to deal with all of the toil around? It's like, I'm just trying to keep the other apps running. How do I also understand the pipelines and everything else that goes along with AI? It seems like that there's really heading towards this emergence of AI development infrastructure to kind of help us understand where Flyte fits in there as well.
Yeah, Chris, you want to?
Definitely, so we've absolutely seen that same trend here of like, we have more and more infrastructure and more point tools trying to solve all of this together. And what we see increasingly, that slows things down. And where you see this is different, right, as you're talking to the infrastructure as code and the platform people, is we've got these very expensive GPUs, we have these jobs that are not running forever, but they're often running for a very long time to do training across a lot of different machines at scale. And so I need to connect all of the various tools that I have in this, and I need to do it in a robust and durable way, where we constantly see people slowed down by the fact that something will break, and then they'll go and they'll manually fix it, and then something else will break, and you end up with these cycles where it takes you months in order to get something out. But the way the data ages, if it takes you 6 months to go get a model out, your model's already stale because your data's now stale, you need to do this again. What we do is we bring all of those pieces together, we tie in the various disparate tools, and allow you to build that as a workflow and a pipeline that we can then automate, and we'll take away all of the little minor challenges of, hey, it broke, let's try it again, or this API throttled us, let's try it again, or we ran out of memory, let's give it more memory and try it again. We solve those problems for you. That increases the speed of your team, and that means that they actually get stuff out and get it done when it's still relevant, so that they're able to get to production. And that's really the change that we're seeing in our community, is the people that are experimenting with Jupyter notebooks and playing around with other tools, like they can build something that looks kind of cool as demoware, but people that get it to production have to systematize it, and that's where Flyte and Union really come in.
Yeah, so Chris, I want to simplify this, because I think it makes a lot of sense. I understand it as what Union is doing, what Union.ai is doing for AI is what Kubernetes did for cloud native, right?
Absolutely.
You're basically unifying that layer to abstract away all the complexity, but you're reinforcing reliability and accelerating iteration. And that is a big factor, and when you're looking at AI workloads, that's a big factor.
Absolutely, and let's be real, there's still lots lots of complexity in Kubernetes. There's all of these tools, right? But what Kubernetes did is bring that together in a way that I, as a system, a platform person, could actually use it and deploy this in production and not have to think about all of these little pieces myself. And absolutely, you're right, that critically we're doing the same thing here for AI. You get so many moving parts, and it's something that you could no longer handle with a script. You no longer want somebody clicking through and doing it. You want this to work consistently, everywhere, every time. And that's where tools like Kubernetes and now Flyte are really critical to help solve those challenges.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it is about how do you solve for complexity, failure, what is my failure domain? How do I understand and bring things into compliance and governance? And of course, cost is in there too. I mean, so how do you see this really playing out to help people really get control on that AI complexity?
So typically, if you are just kind of starting today, and this has been true for a while now, a decade. I've been an ML engineer, practitioner for more than a decade now. Is you kind of start small. You do start with this point solution. So you may start off getting a little data set from your SQL database, you'll train a model, and then you'll do some in-lab work. You'll see if it even works at all, right? So this is your POC phase. At some point, this just doesn't work. So at some point, you have to realize, you have to look at the bigger picture kind of holistically, hence the name, right? You have to look at the union of all the tools that you're going to be bringing to bear on a particular problem, be it fraud detection or whatever, right? And the sooner you can start optimizing costs and the better equipped you are to just hit the ground running, disaggregating your compute so you're not spending tens of GPU hours while it's just sitting there idle, while you're doing some CPU-bound data processing. As soon as you can start disaggregating the steps of your various steps in your pipeline, it's better if you have a tool that's already capable of doing that, which is what Flyte is all about.
So when we think about Flyte, right, we talked about it, we know what it is, right? It unifies the platform. We talked about how but when we also talk about call it the four horsemen, right, of AI failure, right? Yeah. Rob touched on these things, right? This is the reliability, the operational complexity, right? With cost compliance, all those things matter, right? As we're moving to this next generation of Flyte, because Flyte 2 is what you're talking about here at the show floor, a lot of excitement around it, your booth was really popping around it. I'd love to hear more about what that four horsemen AI kind of failure model looks like and how you overcome that.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the first thing is basically, we could talk about compliance, right? So there's a lot of issues around security, data governance that with a lot of the EU regulations coming out, it's going to be a big issue.
Yeah.
So that's something that a lot of organizations need to just have established, take for granted, really.
The EU regulations, right? This is coming up real fast, right? I mean, we're talking about at the end of this year, September 2026, we have to have reporting in place, right? By the end of 27, all applications need to be in compliance. And there's some steep issues like jail time, right? That could be, so that's very important.
Yeah, so we work with a lot of high security need companies, let's call it, and they need things like data lineage tracking. Here's a model I have for production, it kind of misbehaved in production, how do I trace it back to the data set that was used to train it? So these are the kinds of things that Flyte offers, obviously on top of other things that I can kind of go on about, such as kind of resource and permissions isolations at every step of the workflow.
So it comes with traceability basically, and and then your auditability, because we were just talking about that the other day, and I'm assuming that also from that security perspective, it understands what those domains are as well and helps. But one of the other things that I would look at, and it seems like to me what it's doing is really helping go beyond where previous orchestration models have been going, and run books and other things that you're doing and codifying it, but maybe those become brittle because they have to change over time. What are you seeing as the problems that this is solving from those legacy orchestration models?
So tools like Airflow, right? The really classic ETL tools are about solving point-wise, very static sort of solutions of like A, B, C, D, and we're done. We noticed immediately, and this is part of where Flyte came in the first place, is that didn't really work for ML. Like the way things needed to be a little bit more dynamic, really required a different sort of approach. But in the early days when we wrote with Flyte 1, Python 2.7 days, like there were still some limitations to what we do, so we still did things well as some dynamic components is still part of a DAG or directed acyclic graph. But now the community's really moved on to later versions of Python. People are used to using async IO, and we have increasingly dynamic things like AI agents, where I don't actually know what step 2 is until after in step 1 I generate a plan. Now we're in this world where I can't actually deal with a DAG, I can't be tied to that sort of staticness. I need to be able to dynamically understand whatever it is that we need to build. And so with Flyte 2, we've gone to a pure Python approach. Anything that you can write in Python, you can now run in Flyte. And then we can get all the durability and scale that we bring to that, but now we're providing you greater speed and the ability to handle any sort of workflow you want. So I think it's like a deep research sort of scenario or like something that might underlie stock trading. I'm going to have a question about like, what is the research I need to go do? Right. And I need to break that into like looking at some historical stocks, looking at the news, looking at social media, and then we're going to go out to each of those and be like, did it gather useful information here? Like let's make a decision on that if we need to do more research and kind of build that sort of tree. You couldn't have done that in any of these legacy tools, and that's critical today to how people are going to build things for the future.
So related to this, right, we're working on an economic validation with the CUBE research, right? We're putting together this information, and with ROI being on everybody's minds, like, especially when teams are trying to use AI native orchestration to optimize their cost, how does that really impact? You're talking about moving away from heritage or legacy systems, moving to a more modern approach. That's very important, right? Because you're using the new tech stack. What does that mean moving forward as organizations are going to go? I guess what I'm asking is, how do you bridge the gap?
Yeah, I think there's a couple pieces, right? Like some of the core cost stuff that we've always done, right? And it's interesting, I've seen some of these trends change on the cost side where what people were unable to get NVIDIA GPUs, and so they needed to make sure they're using those that they could get at maximum utilization, but for some organizations, money was no object. As we had the like post-chat GPT for a couple of years, like they'll spend whatever money, they just had to get it. Now we're getting to the point where it's like I actually have to get ROI on these solutions, and so it becomes really critical that I make sure that I'm controlling what I'm doing in order to be as effective as possible through these steps. And we're able to help deliver with our customers to have the visibility into the cost, better utilize the resources, and then utilize Kubernetes under the hood to help us scale up and down. So like, let me use the resources as effectively as I can, when I can, in order to drive your cost down, and then let you know what that is going to be. And at the end of the day, what costs you infinity dollars is not actually delivering anything, right? Like, you have no ROI if nothing gets to production. I think that's a critical thing that we're seeing, part of this economic validation, is that Flyte helps people get stuff to production that otherwise never would have.
Right.
And so therefore that's the only way you're going to make any of your money back.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it and the ROAI is negative on a lot of things because people haven't worked backwards from what the problem they're solving and how they're going about this. But we're at one of the largest open source conferences. Kind of talk to how you see open source playing out within Union. Again, knowing Flyte is open source and things like that, but kind of talk to that and where you see the ecosystem impact really going in the future here.
Yeah, it's been really fun. I joined Union fairly early on, 4 or 5 years ago, and it's great because Flyte 1 was really, it started off open source, it gained traction. I think we've mentioned it's used by 3,000 plus companies, from Stripe to Spotify to Woven Planet, Toyota. And that, it's a key strategic thing, right? We get contributions from all these awesome developers out there, and we've built this community. And the fun thing about Flyte 2 is we've kind of flipped the model a little bit. We've taken a bunch of feedback about the good things, the pain points around Flyte 1, around some of the gymnastics you might have to do to get something dynamic, agentic workflow out there. We have internalized this, and now we're kind of, Flyte 2 is really kind of our gift back to the community based on all of that feedback. In a sense, we're not open sourcing it first, like we built it in-house first, and we're going to open source it by the end of the year, early next year, and it really is a confluence of all the lessons we've learned. on top of the agentic kind of AI trends that we're seeing. So like the example that Chris mentioned about deep research, that's great, right? You can use for loops, while loops, conditionals, try except, just all the stuff that Python offers. But it also just improves the developer experience for everyone else, right? If you're an ML engineer, data engineer who's been kind of struggling kind of writing code, this will just make your life a ton, so much easier. Yep. And so once we open source it, we'll get the benefits again. We'll get contributions, we'll build the community again. But I'm really looking forward to when we open source it, because I built the proof of concept internally. We called it eager workflows. It was sort of a little clunky, but you could sort of peer and see, you can write eager workflows and you can see what it could do. Granted, it wasn't perfect at that time, but now we've kind of steered the Union ship toward that direction. I'm just like super excited.
You're pushing the bird out of the nest.
Yeah. It's kind of scary, but it should be good. Yeah.
I love it. So when we're sitting in Salt Lake in a year from now, what do you hope that you can say then that you can't say today?
I mean, I would love one thing, and we continue to be really close with our open source community, right? Like, again, we both have great love for the open source. I want to see everyone come along. Right, like this is super critical for us, and it's part of us releasing this is be like, here's the migration path for everybody to come along. And so now we would have people building, we've already built all these great, cool examples we've got with V1 where people are using it at a massive scale. But I want to see them do even more stuff in V2, right? And like be able to do it with less because we're that much more efficient, be able to do it that much faster, right? We've been seeing like internal performance testing I saw this morning where we were doing one aspect 4 times faster, just the same thing, right? It's like, we're going to deliver all of this value to the open source community. I want to see them take advantage of it, and then build the new things, right? Like, we built this for dynamic. We built this for change and for like this world where I don't just have 4 steps, but I might have 400 steps, and I don't know what they all are. And we want to go see our community take advantage of that. So like, that's what I want to be talking about a year from now, is like, look at all these cool things that the community around Flyte has taken advantage of and gotten built.
And on top of that, we're talking about open source. I don't want to commit to timeline, so I don't want to give our product team a heart attack. But I would love next year to talk about, here's our TypeScript SDK. We're focusing on Python because a lot of the data science and ML tooling has traditionally been around Python, but with AI engineering and AI, you mostly start off with making API calls to LLM providers. So really it's just like focusing on the software and business logic, right? So TypeScript SDK, Go SDK, Java SDK. So make it more accessible to more people, because not everyone loves Python. Not everyone loves the crazy stuff you can do with Python. Right. And they prefer other languages, right? And now in this AI engineering phase, it's just a lot more feasible to build this kind of software with other languages. So, absolutely. Yeah.
Love it, love it. Thank you for coming on board. This has been great. Great to get to know you guys, and now I can't wait to be talking to you, if not in Amsterdam, in Salt Lake. So thanks for coming on board.
Super excited to be here.
Very good. Yeah. And thank you as always as well.
Thank you, Rob.
And thank you for watching this episode of KubeCon CloudNativeCon North America 2025. And we're still here in warming up Atlanta. Coming back to you soon on theCUBE, the leader in tech analysis and news. See you soon.